All right, let's start with the big story that we're tracking this morning, where America first. That's the policy which US President Donald Trump, in fact, announced right from his days of campaigning. However, this policy perhaps has made India's Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj a little uncomfortable, where she has said that it made her sad to hear what Donald Trump had said about protectionism. Now, Sushma Swaraj, while delivering a lecture in New Delhi, was critical of the rising protectionism. So she emphasized that India was not selfish and was more interested in us and we as the guiding principles to take the world forward.
Like Coast Guard petty officer.
मुझे दुख हुआ उस दिन मैं पिछली बार जब यूएनजी में बोल रही थी तो राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप ने आकर वहां ये बात कही थी कि मेरा नारा है मी फर्स्ट। अभी अभी अगर आप देख रहे हो तो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय जगत में एक तूफान आया है प्रोटेक्शनिज्म का, संरक्षणवाद, जिसके केंद्र में केवल मैं, आई, मी एंड माई सेल्फ, मैं, मेरा और मुझको। लेकिन भारत अपनी संस्कृति के माध्यम से कहता है मैं नहीं हम, वी, अस एंड आवरसेल्व्स। और जब वी की बात करता है तो ऑल की बात करता है। अगर मैं सभी प्राणियों को एक सा देखता हूं, अपने जैसा देखता हूं, तो प्रोटेक्शनिज्म की कोई जगह नहीं रह जाती, संरक्षणवाद की कोई जगह नहीं रह जाती।
All right, so that is what Sushma Swaraj, in fact, had to say about the rising wave of protectionism that she said is, in fact, sweeping across the world. Especially, she, in fact, referred to what Donald Trump had said last year in the United Nations General Assembly. And to discuss more on this, we're joined in by my colleague Akansha Swarup. Good morning to you, Akansha. You know, this is an interesting comment that's been made by India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, where she said, in an increasingly globalized world, this rise in protectionism is not something which augurs well for a collective, prosperous development of the world.
Absolutely, Saleh. A very good morning to you too. And as you aptly mentioned that, Sushma Swaraj said that, if your motto is we ourselves and, if you take the world along with you, then it really doesn't matter, the countries will flourish. That is actually what she had to say. She says that if everyone views the other as equal, then there is no place for protectionism. She also said that there is a storm of protectionism at the global level, which is centered around the concept of me and myself. And as we earlier mentioned, that she was hitting out at US President Donald Trump and his speech at the UN Assembly last year in September, where he went all out and he said that, I, like most leaders of other countries, I will also protect my country first and myself. So clearly she was hitting out at US President Donald Trump. And as we all know, she was also hitting out at his protectionist policies. And Saleh, interestingly, I can't, help but connect these two, that, even though, protectionism is mostly related to trade, right. It's not a coincidence that her speech happened on the same day when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Sochi to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin. And as we all know that, the US is coming out with a legislation called the CATSA, which is Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. Right. And let me tell our viewers that it is this legislation which will be used to hit out at India and Russia's relationships, especially in terms of scrapping of a defense deal worth $4.5 billion. But India, of course, it's more, interested in protecting itself, because let's not forget that India's, legacy weapon systems are all, bought from Russia. And that, so for India, it is very, very important to protect its defense system and maintain ties with Moscow. So there's, of course, a deeper, more emblematic meaning to Sushma Swaraj's speech yesterday, which she delivered at, it was the first Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay Memorial International Lecture on Soft Power Diplomacy, Strength of India.
Absolutely, indeed. And also considering the fact as to what's been happening over the last few weeks and months, in which especially the United States and also China have been talking about increasing their trade tariffs, and as to how this has been impacting businesses around the world. Do you think that is a concern that Sushma Swaraj is in fact raised by these comments of me first does not actually work? It is a collective of cooperation between the nations which actually can drive the businesses forward for everyone concerned.
Sally, can you please repeat your question again?
All right, my question, Akansha, was Sushma Swaraj was very critical of Donald Trump when he said, "Me first." Do you think Sushma Swaraj was increasingly hitting out at the increasing rhetoric about the trade tariff war between United States and China here?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier that, it's not just India, it is also China in the picture. China is already into a trade war with the US, and this is a growing concern for all the countries, especially in the East, including China and India. We've already mentioned, the reasons that India has to actually counter, and China, of course, is at the receiving end. They are in talks, but let's see how far this goes. But will a waiver on these sanctions actually jump to India's rescue, or will China be able to wriggle out of these sanctions? We are yet to wait and watch.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Akansha Swarup, for joining us and summing it all up very beautifully for us. Now, this of course, is a statement by India's External Affairs Minister.